All right. Well, we'd just like to welcome everybody back to another episode of Yes Way Jose. And my name is Jose, Mayor of Shepherdsville. And we always preface when we have these episodes that we're going to be trying a number of things to create an interest as far as listening to the podcast, actually enjoying what you hear, and then obviously giving us feedback. So today we did something a little different. We actually have a special guest right here from our Bullitt Central High School. We have a gentleman named Jonathan Loudermilk who's going to be here. He's a teacher here at the school. And we're going to ask him 100 questions, but we'd like to at least welcome him first and give him a few minutes to tell him a little bit about himself. So, Jonathan, welcome here.
Hey, thank you so much. It's so great to be here. Thanks for the invitation. I moved to Shepherdsville about 3 years ago from Thailand.
Thailand, wow, what a difference.
Yeah, big difference. But I've lived in 4 states, 10 cities in the U.S., born in Ohio, lived in Georgia. Dad's a pastor in Hillview, so we moved around a lot. But we call this home. So.
All right. Well, we're glad to have you. Obviously, how long you been teaching? Since you're obviously here at Bullitt Central, and tell us a little bit what you do actually at the school.
Yeah. So I've been teaching at Bullitt Central, going on my 3rd year there, teaching English and theater. Teach juniors. And I taught elementary school before, and then also teaching English just because of the languages overseas as well.
Okay.
So yeah,
it's gonna be interesting. I've got so many questions about your overseas travels, but I want to kind of keep it here in Shepherdsville for a little bit. Yeah. Well, first of all, obviously you've been 3 years here. Obviously, the differences in some of the countries you've been in. We've talked just a little bit about that. I do want you to tell me about these countries because I think for us, for a lot of folks that live here in the United States, we take things for granted a little bit. So tell us a little bit about some of your travels of the years. You're 32 years old. I found that out before we started this interview. Yeah. So you're 32 and you've been in a lot of places for somebody your age. So talk about some of these countries and the lifestyles and music and stuff, food.
Yeah, so I've been, Central America, Africa, Southeast Asia, a lot of different places, 18 countries. And each one has its own flavor, its own culture. But there are a lot of similarities as well, because people are people, and we all have our quirks and things that we do. But deep down, we're all the same because we're all trying to live day to day.
Sure.
And so some of the things that I've noticed in some of the cultures. Music is big in Africa, big in Southeast Asia. I know when I was in Africa, every village I entered, they would welcome us with music.
Oh, wow. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and then they usually had a goat.
Goat?
They would greet us with a goat, and that would be our lunch later.
Okay, wow. Okay.
I was about to say, do you get to keep the goat?
Yeah, they're keeping it in a different way. It's not the way you're thinking about keeping the goat. That's interesting, though. Yeah. Music is a big deal. So did you have any favorites of the different music that you saw across the world?
Well, I would have to say Thailand. My wife is Thai, so Thailand has a place in my heart.
Absolutely, it's really interesting. I don't think that the life experiences you've had at your age to kind of compare to what we actually know is in this country. What's one of the very unique things you saw in some of the cultures? Like, when you talk to some of the kids in your classroom, what do you tell them about some of the stories of things that you've experienced in some of these countries?
Some of the things that I've experienced is that the kids over there, they have this desire to learn to get out of situations they're in.
Okay.
Not just, they don't go to school just because they want to go to school. They go to school because they need to go to school. That's in their mind and their heart. They feel like it's something they need to do to have a better life. And overseas, you have to pay for school.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if it's a government school, public school, whatever you want to call it. They have to pay for school.
Wow.
And so a lot of the reason there are so much things that happen, trafficking and things like that with kids is because they don't have the money to go to school. They live in poverty, and so parents would sell them for that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. It's interesting that this is a very sensitive topic, and I do want to expand on that just a little bit down the road. I think, just the notoriety of, you mentioned about music, we talked about what kind of foods, and how do you pronounce the name of the food?
Oh, yeah. So Thai food, some of my favorite Thai food is pad ka pao. And it's like You can do chicken, you can do pork, just ground up, and then you put some basil and some Thai spice with it as well, and you eat it with white rice. And it's really good. But there's some cow soy, which is it's like a chicken leg and like soup with some spicy broth and regular noodles and dry noodles in there together. It's really good too.
Right. I've got to ask you about African food. Now, I'm just really curious what's really cool. Some of the food there.
Well, we ate a lot of goat. I said before, goats. Ate a lot of goat there. Some of it was cooked well. Some of it was not.
It's gamey, right?
Some of it was actually not gamey.
Okay.
I mean, the first couple times I ate it, it was. I guess it just depends on who cooks it, really. Because
I've eaten some goat cheese. Let me tell you, it's very gamey.
Oh yeah. I've had some goat milk. Buffalo milk was something I actually
Buffalo
had
milk.
when I was in India. I had there were a lot of spicy foods. I knew it was going to be spicy, but I mean, it was so spicy I had sores in my mouth. But the guy I was staying with, he didn't speak any English, but he knew I had sores in my mouth because I was having a hard time eating. So he held his hands up and it was like, wait just a second.
Yeah.
He went to his buffalo, got some buffalo milk out of his
Buffalo
and put some chives in it and said, drink it.
Wow.
And so I drank it and my sores were gone next day.
No kidding. So that's a hot
Straight
food.
from the buffalo.
That's right.
Yeah. So we got a history with the buffalo here in Shepherdsville and Bullitt County with the buffalo trails and the Salt River. So, I mean, we relate to India.
That's true. Every episode, we're learning a little bit more about buffaloes
Yes.
on this podcast.
Interesting.
Yeah. So just a sidebar, since we got so many things going on here, I will tell you that the park, actually in the town square area, we're going to have a buffalo. So if you go to like the Buc-ee's and get your picture, or if you go to a Big Boy and you take a picture with the Big Boy, you're coming to Shepherdsville. You're going to enjoy the park, but in the town square, you will take your picture on the buffalo because it's a big part of our history. But there'll be no milking.
No milking.
No milking this buffalo. That's not going to happen because it's a bronze type of statue. And if you get milk out of that, I'll be real impressed.
Pennies, just pennies coming out.
Just pennies. Maybe just pennies, not milk. But that's interesting that becomes kind of a solution. And so we have that. And then you mentioned India. You mentioned Africa, Guatemala.
Yeah.
Central American food's got to be close to Caribbean food a lot.
Oh, it's really
Spices.
good.
Right. So you got a favorite there?
I actually had some blue corn tortillas. There was blue corn, and it tasted really good. You know, I wasn't expecting. I was just expecting like a normal corn tortilla, but I don't know if the blue gave it a flavor or what it was. But and the cool thing about it was the lady we were with. They grow it in their backyard, and so they just went and got some early in the morning, and then prepared it fresh for us that morning. So it was pretty.
So you probably saw a lot of different income levels in these countries, and the reason why I say it like that because I want people on this podcast, and we kind of made reference to a little bit of how we should cherish our freedoms. Really what we have, the consumption of things, the choices we can make in a country like ours versus other kids, and for kids to hear this, or even adults. Was the significant thing you saw? And you said about going to school, but what else did you see? Was there a commitment to nation? Did you see other things? How was it there? What was the lifestyle? How were the people's attitudes and stuff?
Well, I will say that one thing in particular, when they knew I was from America, is that they would always say how blessed I was. They would always say that because they desired to even walk in America because they have this vision of what America is and who America is. And there's been a lot of the villages I went to, they would talk about times where America would come and give them aid and help them and do different things. And so knowing I was from America, they knew I was there to help them. And even some of the adults there, what they would ask, they would say, "Can you take my child back to America?"
No kidding.
Can you take my child back to America because I know there's opportunities over there.
Well, see, that's really a cool thing because you've experienced that. You know, we look at the immigration situation and everybody has their opinion about it, but we do know people want to come here. You know, and because of the things that we have and the offerings we have, because I think sometimes cultures will know that they come here, they would seize the opportunity to make the very best of it. And it takes nothing away from the folks here, but, you know, we get kind of mad about traffic and railroad tracks, so it's been pretty bad, by the way. I have nothing to do with that as mayor. I'm going to bring that up. That's a disclaimer.
I saw a sign. It looks like they're going to fix it.
Yeah, they are going to fix it. But it's kind of the things that we deal with here.
Yeah.
But for the larger scale is the opportunities and the freedoms and the things that some of these countries don't have. And it makes our country special, but we sometimes got to find that way to make it really special for us. But I think for you to experience it, that's really awesome. So when you talk to the kids in the classroom, what kind of feedback do you get when they talk about the foods or the music? Are they interested, or do you like, wow, man, teacher, that's awesome, Mr. Loudermilk, that's awesome? What do they say?
I can say that I was very interested in the class. It was the most interesting part of my day.
Oh, cool. Well, cool. Because
Eli, by the way.
We brought a straggler in. We brought Eli with us.
It's going to get really confusing because me and Eli, we kind of have the same voice. Mine's just a little higher.
Yeah, you sound a little older than him, by the way.
Well, I am.
You look older too, but I mean, I just want you to sound older.
I have a lot less hair also.
Well, we're not talking about that. We've got Jonathan who's got at least more hair than at least me and you.
That's true, yeah.
So with all that, I think it's great. We talked about your experiences and stuff, and in the time that you've been in Shepherdsville, that we've talked a lot about some of the progress, some of the programs, things we're doing with the Aquatic Center and all that. What when you talk to people or talk to students, do they excited about what's going on, or did they know what's going on? Because maybe this is a medium that maybe some of the kids will listen and go, well, I didn't know they were going to have that. So when you talk to folks, the kids that are here, what do they want to do? What do they want to aspire?
I think what I really want the kids to get from all the things I tell them is that no matter what they put their mind on, no matter what they do, they can achieve greatness. Whatever they feel called to do, and that could be being the best plumber there is. It could be being the best doctor. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be something extravagant. You don't have to be the best actor or the best singer.
Sure.
Just be the best you.
Yep.
Be the best you can be.
We talked a little bit before this interview started. We were talking about the fact that we were saying what connects. At this age, we're talking about 18 to 25-year-olds, and I'm a 64-year-old guy. I've got grandkids, and I can relate to some of that, but really can't relate to what it's like for a teenager today. So, what do you see is for teenagers and their perspective of life in this country versus what you said you saw in some of the other countries?
I think a lot of kids that I've seen here, they take some things for granted, and they don't see the big picture. Some of them don't see where they can go, and they think that, this is all there is, or I'm going to go through the motions, or I can do that later, and they just don't realize that time still goes on, and that carpe diem, they need to seize the day, right? And so I think that instilling in them a drive to do something and not to be complacent and not to think that, I can put that off till later. Do it now. I mean, I'm 32. I've been to 18 countries.
No, I think that's phenomenal, yeah.
And it's because I had the tenacity to say, you know what, I don't want normal. I want to do it. I want to do everything I can.
Yeah, I think for a lot of kids, you don't want to wake up when you're 40 or 50 years old and go, I wish I had done some of this stuff earlier. We don't. We want them to know that they have the same, no boundaries.
Right.
And I think you mentioned also, too, with kids sometimes, obviously trying to find the direction, there's different ways they get that from. Right? And you were mentioning a little bit with some of the kids, and maybe that just for whatever reasons, and this is not a labeling, this is more about just social in our day and age, 21st century. Right. We have single parents. We have sometimes both parents working. They don't have the time. We talked about kids playing sports versus doing other things. And so you can talk about this now. You mentioned also that you have a theater. Yeah. Talk about that and what you'd like to see maybe with that in the city of Shepherdsville.
Yeah, so theater has always been a passion of mine, and I think theater is an outlet for people to just go crazy and put on different personas and do different things. It's one thing if you're yelling Hamlet or Macbeth out in the mall, but then if you're on stage and you can kind of get your goofy side out and do something, that really kind of helps you get some of those other feelings out too. Maybe you come from a home where you don't feel loved, but then when you go into a theater, you can get that love from other people. Yeah. So it's an outlet. it's an outlet for
Absolutely.
kids.
So we want to add to that a little bit. It goes into a segue of some of the developments here in the city. Obviously, we're going to have an amphitheater. We'd love to have you and some of the kids out there just improvising and having a good time and just laughing and joking and just being able to express themselves.
Definitely.
That'd be kind of a fun thing to do. And also, too, we mentioned other activities because not everybody plays sports. We want folks like yourself that you see different things and you see the creativity side. Just encourage them to be that. I know you've got some right now. You probably think of 2 names of people that you think are excelling because you've just given them a little bit of encouragement.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I think for us, it's nice we're trying to bring people that are with the students today that can understand, maybe relate more, because you see them every day. We try to understand our kids and grandkids, but you're with some of these kids and you identify them. You said about encouraging them as far as excelling. What do you see as a way of trying to help some of these kids? What do you see as some of their major issues? I mean, not just the fact that we talk about the family life, but what else do you see? The peer pressure? We always know about drugs. I mean, we know what is it out there that you see with these kids?
The biggest thing is they just want to feel loved. They want to feel needed. They want to feel wanted. They want to feel like they have a purpose. And I think showing them that they do have a purpose and showing them that they do have somebody that cares about them will help them achieve whatever they want to achieve. I've had conversations with students who said, they're not going to do anything after high school because they just feel like they're not good at anything. But of course they're good at something. They can do something. And some of my students, you might not be good at English, you might not be good at science, but I know some of you are good at fishing. Create a fishing podcast, create a fishing YouTube channel. Do something. Teach me to fish.
Well, I do think that there's a contribution that we all make.
Yeah.
And finding that is sometimes tricky. But,
exactly.
Like coaches, teachers are always you're big mentors to some of these kids, and they just need that guidance.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be kind of cool. We'd like to see a little bit. I know you're going to be taking off another trip. Hopefully, I don't know if you pen pal with some of these students, but it'd be cool so they can keep up with your day in the life and what's going on. Because I think some kids, when they see some of this, may be intrigued by that, whether it's the music, maybe it's the culture. Hey, somebody could be a really good cook, could be a chef.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
That could happen.
Definitely.
And then we think those are opportunities. Hospitality business is still booming and still looking for really good help. I do want to bring up one thing, and we were just kind of touching on a little bit. And one of the things that you're really passionate about, one of the things that you do in other countries that we've talked about, and we know it's a problem here. And I'm just going to touch on it, and then I'll let you kind of expand on it as far as the human trafficking piece. And when we talk about Shepherdsville, we have an I-65 corridor here, right? It's a good thing because it brings us business. We take that money and we're investing in the community. We're going to build some really nice things for kids and families. But we also know, and it's 15 minutes from the airport, so it's going to be that kind of model. But the downside, the dark side, is from Michigan to Alabama. There's a lot of traffic through here, drug and human trafficking. And I want you to talk a little bit about that and some of the countries you've been in and some of the things. I think people just need to hear this today because we talk about the kids and having attention, and sometimes they go to a place that they can't return back from. So talk a little bit about that with us.
Yeah, so trafficking is a huge issue. And really it's starting to come up more in the news and different in the media. Movies are being made about it now, but it's always been an issue in every country I've been in. But the thing about it is that once kids get taken, you have a very short window before you have no idea where they are. There was a rescue that was done a few years ago here in the U.S., and it was because of Snapchat. This girl didn't feel loved in her home, and she started snapping this random person and met up with this person, and she was taken into a U-Haul truck.
Wow.
And found close to the Cincinnati airport, getting ready to go to Cuba. And then from Cuba, going overseas to Asia. And, Southeast Asia, where I am in Thailand, is a hub for that.
No kidding.
And so you have a lot of kids that get there through cargo ships, through other cargo planes. Yeah. You have kids from the U.S., Canada, Mexico, Russia, Europe.
Oh, wow.
All kinds of kids there, and then there's a black market there, and they can sell them there. And
selling kids, it's amazing. I hear this.
And the thing is what really pains me is most of the people that sell the kids are family members.
No kidding.
Yeah.
You mentioned about the education piece earlier. We were talking about that a little bit. I just, the fact is that people need to understand is, first of all, we want our kids to be loved, and we don't want them turned into alternatives like that.
Yeah.
And obviously social media can be a really rough thing for some of these kids because it's the only connection they have, and that person on the other side, they really don't know.
Right.
Wow. So I know you really have a passion for this piece. Yes. I know that you handed me a brochure and some of the work that you did. Talk a little bit about what you're doing to make that awareness happen.
Yeah, so I started an organization called Promised Land Ministries in 2017. And what that is basically it's based off of the story in the Bible in Exodus where Moses freed the slaves out of Egypt, and they went into the Promised Land, and they're kind of their home, right? And so what that is trying to free the sex slaves and bring them into a promised land for their own home that they have. And so what we do is we rescue them, we restore them, we give them counseling, different things like that, and we equip them for a better future, teach them business, financial literacy, teach them English, teach them different trades.
And this is across the world.
Yes, okay. Yes, it's across the world. Wow. Yes, and so we teach them all different kinds of things to prepare them for the future. We just had a couple of students who graduated with their chef's license, and so now they're able to be chefs, and they got hired on a Japanese steakhouse. They're going to be
that's
there.
Cool.
So we're very excited for them, and we give them different names and change their names as well, give them new identities as well once we get them out of there. And we also do at-risk saving, where we negotiate with different people when we hear from our whistleblowers about different situations. So we try to get there before the Chinese triad or Russian mafia or different things.
That's some crazy stuff.
I was gonna say, like, how does a typical a rescue go down? I mean, I'm assuming you're not just busting in there John Wick style. Like, what is it like? How what's that operation kind of like?
Well, it's different in different ways. It just depends on the situation.
Right.
There are different kinds of places these kids can be. They can be in bars, they can be in karaoke's, they can be in massage places, and you go in and you have to act. You use the things you learn in high school.
That's where his acting comes in.
If you have to do that,
and so sometimes you got to dress up a little bit and change your appearance and do different things like that. But you go in and you act like you're a buyer or something like that, and sometimes it might go sideways, sometimes it
I was going to say that would be so stressful. I don't know if I'd be able to handle that.
So are you with a support team that do the
Yes.
Okay, because I was going to say that's got to be, I mean, obviously the challenges of doing that in anywhere, even including the United States. I guess just fancying in that is just, what do we do to help kids here? I mean, obviously, as you talk to kids in the classroom and in the school itself, and what would you tell kids today for those signals not to go to that side, the dark side, as I like to call it?
Yeah, if for kids who don't feel loved, who don't feel needed and wanted in their home, there's somebody in your life that does care about you and that does love you. And if there's nobody else and you're listening right now, I care about you.
Yeah.
I love you. I might not even know you, but I love you. Yeah. I lay my life down for you.
That's a really cool thought.
And so, that's for anybody. Really, just know that there's somebody out there that cares about you, and you don't have to go onto social media and look for that, or go into these dark places and look for those kind of things, because there is somebody out there that does care about you.
We're trying to instill the value of life. Somehow it gets taken out of folks. We always try to understand why a kid could kill another kid and gangs and all that. And we talk about this. Why would a person do this? Because they don't have that value of life. And you're looking at different avenues to try to get these folks back on what I call the sunshine of life. I think you need to keep doing that. Obviously, just even in this community, I know you're going on a trip. When you get back, the focus is we need to be very careful with that. We talk about this interstate. That's got to be a very, very a very cautious thing for us to be aware of, but to teach our kids the right things. And, maybe we can find that medium. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's something separate that you do, that we let people know they can just call in and talk to you, to give them a chance. Because obviously you're doing this. You've been doing this since 2017.
Yeah.
So 7 years you've been doing this, and I'm sure you've seen, heartbreaking stories. But I think that's a mission in life. And we all talk about goals we have. That's outstanding what you do, Jonathan. And I hope that people will hear this and understand that, especially if it's a young person listening, that they can reach out. They can reach out to somebody, and we'll find other avenues, things we can do in the city to have different places that you can call and talk to somebody that will just talk you out of maybe a certain thought.
Yeah.
Because once you make that thought, it sounds like you can't go back sometimes.
That's right. That's right. It was once said, I can't remember exactly who said it, but whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And then, I was going to tell some of my students, if you say you can't, you're right, you can't. But if you change that mindset and you say you can, and you will.
I got to tell you, this is a very interesting podcast because, we're really looking at, when we think of the United States, we think about kind of the projects in Shepherdsville. But this is really the meat and potatoes. We're talking about the folks that live here. We talk about family. We talk about good education.
Yeah.
We talk about an open boundary on what you can do in life. It sounds like you've got a good start to that. And I hope, you've been here 3 years. We're going to keep you around for a while. You don't know that yet, but we're going to keep you here in the community. But I do want to also make sure and encourage you, if we got the theater, when you get back, come and talk to us. I think there's some great opportunity for that, Jonathan. It's nice to see somebody young. I know I'm a little bit older, but young that's making a difference in the world, really. I mean that sincerely to you. So I think it's awesome that you do that. Keep us up on things. We want to bring you back for an update, somewhere down the road. Just talk more about what you're doing, how we can get maybe some of the kids that you're working with in the school to be a part of your program, and identifying other kids that might need just a buddy program, right? Something like that. So this is freaking awesome, guys. I got to tell you, I really enjoy it because I think you're making a difference. And to me, that's what I look for, is somebody making a difference, and you do that today. Jonathan, what else would you like to add? I think it's been very intriguing today. But what would you like to add? Wife's name?
Gay.
All right, gay. All right. Yeah. So you've been married how long?
7 years.
7 years? Oh,
yeah,
all right.
Yeah,
so that's so how many times in Thailand?
Well, I lived there for 5 years, but then 3 years ago, I started going back and forth. We're working on her dual citizenship right now.
Oh, cool.
Because it is easier for us to travel that way. Mm-hmm. And so, I met her overseas. I was actually training and learning from an organization that does some work over there. And I was with some kids that were rescued. We were playing Uno, and she came over and started playing Uno with us. And she was my translator, and so I call her my Uno.
So, did she win?
Yeah, always.
All right, so that's fine. Yeah, you may not get a chance.
It's probably easier when you don't speak the language. They can probably conspire against you.
Well, we think that's awesome. You got any hobbies? Some of the students know what you like to do?
I love to read.
Okay.
I read a lot. Okay. I love to learn. I'm a learner.
Okay.
A long life learner. I love movies. Love to watch movies.
We're talking about. I was trying to think of the name of the movie when they rescued the kid in Central America.
Sound of Freedom.
That's it. That's a great movie. It was so inspiring. It was really cool, and I think it makes a difference with that. And then you really are one of those soldiers.
Yeah.
Right on the battlefield doing that. So that I couldn't think of the name of the movie. Thank you.
Yeah.
Gosh, what else would you like to tell us before we finish this up? Because I can tell you, it's been a pleasure meeting you. I got a chance to talk to you today.
It's been a pleasure meeting you as well. I'd say if you're listening, don't give up. Life gets hard, and sometimes life throws more than a lemon at you. And just take it one day at a time. One day at a time. Get back up on your feet, brush yourself off, and keep going, because there's somebody out there rooting for you. And you're going to win.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Jonathan, it's been a pleasure to meet you. Tell Gay we said hey, and don't let her beat you in Uno no more.
Yeah.
But I want you to have safe travels, and when you come back, we'd love to hear about what you did and hear more about that. And maybe you can teach us some of that Asian cooking that you've been talking about. Right? There's got to be some good stuff out there. No goat. No goat.
No goat.
Not doing the goat. You doing goat? You guys going to do goats?
Have they not heard of lamb? I feel like lamb tastes better.
I don't know.
It's like the same thing.
Yeah, lamb's okay. I'm not going to go there either. Yeah, just give me a good steak. Good steak.
But Jonathan, over a goat?
Yeah, for a goat. Jonathan, thank you very much for being here, man. Glad to have you.
Very nice to be here.